Right. Welcome everyone to Sacred Sexuality. My name is Faye Burkley, and I am here on behalf of Sacred Female Rising. And I'm so grateful for World Unity Week for putting on this incredible platform of sharing our ideas and our experiences for the sake of unity of the world. So today we're going to be talking about sacred sexuality. And I am so passionate about this topic because I feel like our society has over-sexualized it, no pun intended, demonized it, and we aren't taught the truth of what our sexuality really is. So today we're going to be digging a little bit deeper into that and uncovering our truths that are going to allow us to tap into our true essence and our true power and allow us to be our whole selves without compartmentalizing any portions of ourselves. So it's going to be a little bit of a discussion and a little bit of a feedback. I'm going to go through a few things that I feel like we all have questions about when it comes to our sexuality. But the first thing that I like to discuss is, what is our sexuality in terms of energy? So to me, sexuality and the word sensuality is interchangeable. I love the word sensuality even a little bit more than sexuality because it gets a little bit more into the truth of what we're talking about. Senses, our feelings, our connection to the world outside of us. So what are our senses? It's the taste, touch, smell, feel, hear. I always get them all confused. So, taste, touch, smell, hear, feel, those things. And when we can fully be in our body and we can indulge in those things and we can be present with those things, that is what our sensuality is about. And it starts with ourselves. And then once we can become so confident and comfortable in those things, that's when our intimate connections can become deeper. They can become more intimate. They can become just more of an exchange. Now, the area of our bodies that are affected by our sensuality in terms of the Hindu chakra system is going to be our lower body, obviously, our root chakra and our sacral chakra. So our root chakra is the color red, and it has to do with our foundation of life, our stability, our feeling of safety. And when we are developing in childhood, that's one of the first chakras that we're developing from age 0 to 7 years old. Our sense of feeling safe, our sense of feeling part of the tribe, and our sense of being protected. Our sacral chakra is the color orange, and the emotion is connectivity and safety in our body. So it has to do with our reproductive organs, our uterus, our ovaries, our testes as men. And I love Caroline Myers because she calls it our seat of power. Our sacral chakra is our permission to feel safe in our physical body, our physical vessel. So as we're developing, if any of those areas of our lives in childhood or even into our adulthood, if any of those areas are kind of rocked, then it has a direct effect on how safe we feel in our bodies and how safe we feel in our interactions with others. So that's kind of my idea of what our sexuality and our sensuality is. To me, it's about a deeper connection to our senses, feeling safe in our body and feeling safe in our interactions. But everyone has a little bit of a different feel and take on it. And all of them are right in a sense, because we all get the ability to define what our sexuality is. So I'm just so curious if anyone would like to share what their idea of sexuality is in this moment for them right now in their life. If any of you would like to share. And it's okay to have your own ideas and feelings. There's nothing right or wrong when it comes to this.
I can share. I think for most of my life, I've always understood sexuality in relation to a partner within this dynamic. And it's only recently, I'm going through quite some struggles with my current partner, that I'm really trying to connect to what sexuality is within me in relation to myself. And indeed, I've also become closer to the sensuality of it by rooting into my experience and the pleasure I take through my senses. This brings me closer to myself. And this is a new dynamic that I begin to explore.
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I feel very similar. It's like, even in my own story, I first explored sexuality in the sense of with a partner. And then when I was almost in this like completely broken state right outside of a breakup, I didn't have that option of being with a partner, I was like, what does this mean for me by myself? How can I tap into like love of self and love of all this, regardless of how it looks and how it feels. So the sensuality, that's when that part came in for me. So thank you for sharing that. Is there anyone else that would like to share their idea of what sexuality or sensuality is for them right now in this moment?
It's quite a big question. I feel in this moment, I'm newly at like question mark. I am in a relationship, and of course, I can really align with what you said, Chris. To have this direct link, to have sexuality with a partner. That's the real. That's how I engage in sexuality mostly, and I've been looking also into ways of tantric sexuality, of connection. It's very much about connection. And there's just still, for me, a lot of question mark around, sexual organs and the misrepresentations of them, and also about looking at my own patterns. And I can say that how I was brought up, there is so much shame and so much still taboo, even though my parents would talk about sexuality, but the vibe of it was still very tight and very off the normal. And I think there's these vibrations and these energies, they are still around. I can still sometimes feel that, I've worked with it and I've gotten rid of a lot, and still, especially looking at sexuality with myself, there is a lot that is still like in development and progress. What I would say, yeah.
Beautiful.
A lot of exploration to do there.
A ton. We get all these things placed on us before we even get the chance to explore it for ourselves, So I think that you really touched on a huge point, that our society and our family really skews the way that we see sexuality, depending on how open they were about it or how closed off they were about it. Did we experience any type of sexual traumas? Did, all of these things, did our mom talk to us about our period and our cycles? And so those are all huge. And I want to get into all of those things too. So thank you for bringing that up. That's so potent and powerful. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share before we move to the next portion?
I'll share quickly. For me at the moment I've had the opportunity to have my sexual energy to myself for a very good while now, and I went through a big illness and healing, and I really noticed how that regenerative energy was required within my own body, and then within my own psychological body, and then within my own heart, to actually heal and regenerate my own system, right? And now in the last while, it's very, very clear that I have no interest in just sex. It's like, if there's no connection, if there's no sense of seeing and being seen and wanting to meet on all levels, both the human, the physical, and the emotional and the spiritual, there's just no interest there, that there's no arousal or spark happening unless there is a real connection on every level. So that's where I am at the moment.
Beautiful place to be. Beautiful place to be, because you understand what that energy really is. It's like our deepest essence combining with someone else. And energetically, we're taking on their essence and they're taking on ours. So I feel like being so careful with who we exchange with. You know, we don't just go kissing everybody on the street. You know what I'm saying? So why would we exchange these very potent, precious energies with others? And I think that it takes a little bit of a journey in order for us to realize the potency and the preciousness of our energy. So I think that's beautiful. And I think that you holding that intention is only going to allow that to come into your life. Anyone else who comes in, you're just gonna peep it like very early on, like, you know, this is not for me. So I love that. I want to discuss some of the things that can hold us back from getting to that place you were talking about, Veronica, that pure essence of what a sexual exchange is. I think, like I mentioned before, it really depends on how our family unit viewed sex as our first introduction to it. I have talked to so many women who said that, you know, neither of their parents discussed sex with them as they were hitting puberty. You know, they had to learn from their friends. Who knows what they learned from, you know? So it's like the education portion of just the basics weren't there. And then if we also add on any type of sexual trauma, where we know out of 5 women, probably 4 of them have experienced it sometime in their life, that right there just piles on resistance, shame, fear, guilt, in any type of exchange. And so we have so many things that are piled onto us, not even talking about society's views on the female form and the over-sexualization of just the way that we are shaped and the way that we look, the fact that we have breasts, and just us being us, makes so many women, for a good reason, very uncomfortable and afraid to express themselves sexually. And then the terms that come along with women who are free with who they decide to share with. You know, we have the terms, we have the slut, we have the whore, we have the hoe, we have multiple, you know what I'm saying? And these are extremely derogative, and they can start all the way into childhood. I remember talking to some of my friends in the South. There's this term called, for children, granted, called fast. Oh, she's fast. And it may be like a young girl that's very vivacious and very just, you know, she might like to dance or something, but we're talking about children 10 and younger. And it's like they start to title that child like, oh, she gonna grow up and be, you know, and this is just titles that stick for a very long time. So this is kind of what we're starting off with as people on this planet Earth, you know, and it takes a journey of shedding those layers and shedding those belief systems that were put upon us, the traumas and emotions. We know those are energy in motion. So they tend to go to the places in our bodies that correlate with the energy centers, our root and our sacral and our heart, because our heart takes on every emotion. So we have the physical symptoms of endometriosis, fibroids, infertility, difficult periods, no periods, light periods, heavy periods. You know, it's like we know so many women who have these crazy feminine diseases, diseases, and we're not really getting to the core of why those are there. So that's just a little overlook of where we're starting from as a society, as a people, when it comes to our sexuality. And before that, we talked about what we all believe sexuality and sensuality is. So now I want to talk about the energies of exchange. So I see our sacral chakra as like our inner flame. So another thing that inner flame does is it lights up all of our organs, and it gives it life to function properly. So what I also see symbolically, what that is creativity, our ability to create not only life as in children, but life as in our businesses, our purposes, our arts, our passions. So that's energy at the base of our spine and our sacral chakra. When we're exchanging with another, when we're plugging in the microcosmic orbit of that energy that goes down and then back up through our head. And so when we're connected to someone, it's going down through them, out their head, to your head, and back through. And so when we're not completely clear when it comes to our energy centers that rise from the base of our spine all the way to the top of our head, that energy can get stuck in certain places. And to me, that manifests as painful sex. It can manifest as crying during sex, because that energy is hitting an emotion and it's breaking it free, and then it's rushing to be acknowledged. And I've felt that on my journey. And I've talked to many women who've experienced that as well. It can result in closed energy centers in an exchange. It can result in not being able to climax, not being able to free that energy. And so sexuality is such a healing energy. When we get into a partnership where we can let our guards down energetically and emotionally, and we can start to let that swirling energy through, that's when we can start to heal not only our organs, but we can start to heal those emotions that are stuck. But I feel personally, and speaking with others, I feel that medicine really starts personally. like what you were talking about, Veronica, like you said that you've done a lot of work on your own. And I feel like that's really where it begins, even though that we could do work with others, with a partner that like creates a safe space and listens and is emotionally present. But I feel like even to get into that space, we have to come to a certain place personally. We have to start acknowledging like our childhood traumas and any of this shame, fear, guilt that we've been holding, finding a comfort in our body to where we're even able to show up in an intimate space, and learning how to just love ourselves completely and redefine what sensuality and sexuality is to us. And I feel like that happens on an individual level first. And then when we can get with a partner, that energy exchange can start to break up those things even more through our bodies and start to heal and release and allow. So I want to talk about movement as medicine. I host a class called Sacred Twerks. And what I love about it is because the first, the title, it's like, oh, you're just twerking. Like, okay, that's cool, that's fun. But what we're really doing is, because we're shaking and moving the butt and the thighs and the pelvis and the hips, and we're grounding the feet, we're shaking those stuck emotions from those areas of the body. And then the upper body is being free. And we're listening to our body and allowing it to move as it wants without judgment. But the potency is in shaking the energy, the cells. So in Qigong, which is my inspiration from it, and Tai Chi, during a warm-up, they do like this tapping, and they like tap the whole body. They spend a lot of times in the pelvis and the hips. And, some cultivators, they just shake underneath the tree for 30 minutes. And that's their cultivation, because they're shaking all of their body. So for women, I feel as if we were moving and shaking that area more energetically and physically, it's going to help get rid of those stuck emotions that turn into disease. And then emotionally, it gives us liberation, because even if we're walking down the street and we're shaking our butt a little bit too much, what do people call it? They call it switch. Oh, you switching. Like, why are you walking so? Like, who do you think you are? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm confident. It gives you a little bit more permission to take that same liberation from the circle of women that we're doing this class in, out in the street, so that you find that, your shoulders are backing down a little bit more, your chest is open, and, you just have a confidence in your walk, and you found freedom in your body. And I feel like movement is so powerful, because it also gives us the ability to, when we're moving, allow those thoughts to come in, like, oh, you look stupid. You're not doing it right. Look at that girl over there. She's killing it. You're not. You know what I'm saying? Or you look like a crazy person, or, any of the things that come in while we're dancing or moving our body. We can start to notice them and recognize them. And just like if we were in meditation, allowing them to pass. And then eventually they're going to stop showing up more. So taking that from our everyday practice of perhaps dancing in front of the mirror to your favorite music, and tapping your hips and your womb, and then taking that power to your connections. Like Veronica was saying, like, the type of connections that I feel like ultimately we all want is a very deep core connection, or maybe some don't, but if we do want that type of deep core connection, like I said before, having that confidence in ourselves first, that non-judgment. How many women do we know that's like, I don't want to have sex with the lights on? You know what I'm saying? Turn them off. You can't see all this. I'm not comfortable. You know, so being able to be bare with ourselves first so we can be completely soul bearing, physically bearing with a partner, which is going to create that very safe, tantric environment of wholly receiving and wholly giving. So movement is so powerful because it allows you to reclaim your body and your sensual movements and letting go of the crazy thoughts that are telling you that this ain't for you. Some of the ways that in my journey during my breakup, I reclaimed some of my own power. Because me personally, when I'm depressed, I don't eat as much and I lose weight like that. And I'm already a really thin person, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like feeling so unwomanly because you know how if you're this, you want that. If you're that, you want this. So I want like this thickums, like, you know, like a curvaceous body. To me, that's a woman. Or before, that was my view. So when I was in that very depressed state, I was very thin and I just wasn't feeling myself at all. So I knew what type of partnership I wanted to eventually create. So I started doing these rituals where I call them body love rituals. And I would start in the shower and I would turn down the lights, get my pink Himalayan sea salt lamp, my candles. I would get like a special soap or oil. And as I touched my body, I realized that usually we're just like, you know, we're just like mindlessly touching our body and our body is resonating with that mindless touch. So during the shower, I would just be very conscious of how I touched myself. And I would be intentionally sending love to every part of my body. And then I would get out of the shower and I would set up my bedroom and like turn down the lights, saying, you know, candles, got that cute little pink hue. And I would get like some of my favorite natural body butters or something. And I would like slowly lather my body and just send love, send intentions, be very mindful of how I touched myself. And then I would dance naked in front of the mirror. I have music playing the whole time. I would dance naked in front of the mirror and I would look at all the parts where I wasn't loving, and I would attempt to love it, you know, and it takes time sometimes, you know, but I would start to dance and I would start to just look at myself and just attempt to send myself love, even though it wasn't what I wanted to look like or feel like. And to me, that was my way of giving myself what I wanted, which was to be seduced, to be loved, to be seen, to be set the scene for, you know, the whole Tantra idea of the scene, the smells, the taste, touch, the feels. I did that for myself. And sometimes if I felt groovy, I would imagine like I was dancing for a partner. But I would make sure that it's not about my partner's like satisfaction. It was about me. And like me seeing the satisfaction on his face would be for me. You know, so I turned it around and like made it about me and not about him. So I feel like adding any type of visualization into this ritual really allows you to manifest what you want in terms of a partner, in terms of the type of connection that you want, in terms of how you want to feel about your body and how you want to move your body. I feel that it all correlates to the grander scheme of sensuality, sexuality. So I'm curious, as we close, are there any things that you guys found that you do on your journey to embody sensuality or sexuality? Are there any tools, tips, your own rituals that you do that have helped you grow in this. Or things you want to explore. If anyone doesn't have anything, then...
Well, I would just like to say thank you for this inspiration. This is really intriguing to listen to and very easy to try out. So that's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really precious. And I noticed this is like when we were before, after our sharing, I noticed it was so interesting to me to see, oh, cool. I'm at a point where I can speak in a panel like this with this name on it, Sacred Sexuality. And I know that maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I would not have even been here in this room. So something must have happened along the way. And yeah, I think I really find this with a partner, it's possible also to go into this stillness, like not so quick moving, but maybe allowing the energy fields to approach, to come closer. And that's an interesting experience to make. So just expanding that, like that ritual that you describe for yourself into partnership as well. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. And shout out to your journey. You know, we all out here growing. I love it. I love it. It's a lifelong journey. It really is, because so much has been piled upon us that we have to shed. So progress is celebrated every step of the way. Absolutely. Is there anything else anyone would like to share, or comments, or any of this make you very uncomfortable and closed off? Because that's normal too, you know. I've had people had to leave about 10 minutes into Sacred Twerks because it was too much, too soon, too much. So sometimes baby steps are needed, and I recognize that.
I know I came onto this late, but I just wanted to say that this has been really a really great experience. I really appreciate you sharing everything that you shared, and it was all very resonant, and I'm looking forward. I'd really like to join your sacred time and I think that would be really helpful, because what you just said about it like being kind of too much too soon, I went through that a couple years ago, and now I'm like kind of feeling it come back up, and I feel like I'm ready. So this was a really good segue into that. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing.
Beautiful. Thank you, Savannah. Okay, yes, you can find me on Instagram at Sacred Twerks, and then sacredtwerks.com. I would love to have you. We also hold discussions where we're not moving. We're just doing this, and we're talking about certain topics that we're still shedding. We're all kind of healing towards. So I'd love to have you. Man, well, unless anyone else wants to share, I feel like we can wrap this up. I just thank you, everyone who came and who listened and contributed. And I know that this is not always a topic that we just are ready to sit and chat about. So thank you for that. And it just shows that as a society and as a collective, we're rising as women, and we're reclaiming every bit of ourselves. And so this is powerful medicine that will resonate all through your life, and you will show up more powerfully in every area of your life when we can start to dig into this. And you will inspire others around you, and they'll be like, girl, you what happened? You're like, oh, I've been doing these things, you know. So just thank you so much, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faith, for sharing your beauty and wisdom.
Thanks for being here.
Mm.